I feel like a tiny speck in a vast ocean. The city towers around me, cold and indifferent. Every day I wake up feeling lost. I go through the motions, but my heart isn't in it. The noise, the crowds, the constant rush, it all feels overwhelming. Is this all there is to life?
His apartment was a reflection of his inner turmoil. Clothes were strewn about, dishes piled high in the sink. Alex couldn't remember the last time he'd felt truly happy. He'd come to the city with big dreams, but now those dreams seemed far away. The glitter of city lights had faded, leaving only a dull ache in his chest.
Friends call, but I rarely answer. I'm drowning in a sea of faces, yet I've never felt so alone. Work is a blur of meetings and deadlines. Nothing seems to matter anymore. I long for something more, but I don't know what. I feel stuck, unable to move forward or back. Each night as I lay in bed, I wonder about my purpose. Is this all life has to offer? Surely there must be more.
But as hard as he tried, he couldn't see beyond the grey walls of his existence. Little did he know, a chance encounter was about to change everything. Sometimes hope comes from the most unexpected places. It was a Tuesday when Alex's life took an unexpected turn. He was rushing to work, coffee in hand, when he collided with someone. Hot liquid splashed everywhere. Alex looked up, ready to snap, but the words died on his lips.
I'm so sorry.
Before him stood an elderly woman, her eyes twinkling with kindness.
No harm done, young man. Sometimes we need a little jolt to wake us up.
There was something about her that made Alex pause. In that moment, the rush of the city seemed to fade away.
I'm Miss Elena. Let me buy you a new coffee.
Against his better judgment, he agreed. They walked to a nearby cafe, chatting as if they were old friends. Miss Elena had a way of making Alex feel at ease. For the first time in months, he felt seen.
You seem lost, my dear.
Alex was taken aback. How could this stranger see what he'd been hiding from everyone? But instead of feeling exposed, he felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this unexpected meeting was the beginning of something new. Miss Elena had a way of cutting through the noise. Her words were simple yet profound.
Life isn't about the destination. It's about the journey.
At first, Alex didn't understand. He'd always been focused on goals, on getting ahead. But Miss Elena encouraged him to look deeper. She spoke of finding joy in small moments, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the first sip of coffee in the morning, a smile from a stranger.
These are the threads that weave the tapestry of a rich life.
Alex listened, captivated. He'd been so busy chasing success that he'd forgotten to live.
Every challenge is an opportunity for growth.
Miss Eleanor shared stories from her own life. She'd faced hardships, but she spoke of them with gratitude. Alex thought about his own struggles. Could he learn to see them differently? Miss Eleanor's wisdom was like a balm to his weary soul. As their meeting came to an end, Miss Eleanor made Alex promise to meet her again.
Life is too short to go it alone.
Alex left the cafe feeling lighter than he had in months. He didn't know where this new friendship would lead, but for the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful about the future. Inspired by Miss Eleanor's words, Alex decided to make some changes. He started small. One morning, instead of rushing to work, he took a detour through the park. The colours seemed brighter somehow. He noticed things he'd never seen before, the intricate patterns of leaves, the joyful chirping of birds. It was as if he was seeing the world through new eyes.
Encouraged, I decided to try something new. I signed up for a pottery class. At first, I felt clumsy and out of place. But as I worked the clay with my hands, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. There was something meditative about creating something from nothing. For those few hours each week, the worries of the world melted away.
Miss Eleanor had suggested volunteering, so Alex found a local animal shelter. The first time he walked through those doors, he was overwhelmed by the noise and the smell. But then a small dog caught his eye. As he knelt to pet it, the dog's tail wagged furiously. In that moment, Alex felt needed. It was a small thing, but it filled him with warmth.
These new experiences opened up a world of possibilities. I found myself looking forward to each day, curious about what it might bring. I still have moments of doubt and uncertainty, but they no longer consume me. Instead of feeling lost in the city, I'm starting to find my place in it. And with each new experience, I feel more like myself.
Life wasn't suddenly perfect. Alex still faced challenges. Work was stressful and some days he felt, well, overwhelmed. But now he had tools to cope.
When things got tough, I remembered Miss Elena's words.
Breathe through it, I told him. This too shall pass.
These simple phrases became his mantra. One day, Alex received news that his position at work was being eliminated. In the past, this would have sent him into a tailspin, but now he approached it differently. He allowed himself to feel the fear and disappointment. Then he took a deep breath and asked himself,
What can I learn from this?
It wasn't easy, but he chose to see it as an opportunity for growth. Miss Elena was there to support him through this transition. She reminded him of his strengths and encouraged him to dream bigger.
Sometimes life clears a path for something better, I said.
Alex took her words to heart. He used this time to explore new career options, ones that aligned more closely with his values. There were moments of doubt and fear, but Alex had learned to sit with these feelings rather than run from them. He practiced gratitude, even on the hardest days. Slowly but surely, he began to see the silver linings. This challenge was pushing him out of his comfort zone, helping him discover strengths he didn't know he had. As weeks turned into months, Alex noticed a shift in himself. He was smiling more, laughing more. He found joy in the simplest things: a perfectly brewed cup of tea, the sound of rain on his window, a good book. These small pleasures, which he once overlooked, now filled his days with richness.
Miss Elena had taught me the importance of mindfulness. I started practicing meditation. At first, sitting still was torture. My mind raced with worries and to-do lists, but gradually I learned to observe my thoughts without getting caught up in them.
This practice brought a sense of calm to his life that he'd never experienced before. He rediscovered old passions too. Alex had always loved photography, but he'd set it aside in the rush of adult life. Now he picked up his camera again. He started seeing the city through a new lens, quite literally. The urban landscape he once found daunting now offered endless possibilities for beauty and art.
Joy, I realized, wasn't something to be chased. It was already there, waiting to be noticed.
In savoring a meal with friends, in the satisfaction of completing a project, in the quiet moments of reflection, joy was everywhere. And the more he noticed it, the more it seemed to multiply. Life wasn't perfect, but it was full of perfect moments. Section 7. Ripples of positivity. Alex's transformation didn't go unnoticed. Friends who had once worried about him now remarked on the change.
You seem different, happier.
Alex found himself sharing the wisdom he'd learned from Miss Elena. He encouraged others to slow down, to find joy in small moments. His positivity was contagious. At work, Alex's new attitude made a difference. He approached tasks with enthusiasm rather than dread. He took time to connect with his colleagues, to really listen. People were drawn to his energy.
Even his boss noticed, commenting on Alex's improved performance and attitude. The office environment seemed lighter somehow.
In his volunteer work at the animal shelter, Alex's joy touched both animals and humans alike. He approached each task, no matter how menial, with care and attention. His fellow volunteers were inspired by his dedication. The shelter manager often said that Alex's presence lifted everyone's spirits. Even the animals seemed to sense his positive energy. As Alex continued to grow and change, he noticed a ripple effect in his relationships. Old friendships deepened. New connections formed easily. People sought him out for advice or simply to bask in his positive presence. Alex was amazed at how his inner transformation was affecting the world around him. It was as if by changing himself, he was changing his entire world. Section 8. Rediscovering connections. With his newfound perspective, Alex began to see his relationships in a new light. He reached out to old friends he'd lost touch with. At first, it felt awkward, but as they caught up, Alex realized how much he'd missed these connections. He listened with genuine interest to their stories, celebrating their joys and offering support in their struggles. Family relationships, too, began to heal. Alex had always been close to his parents, but in recent years their conversations had become superficial. Now he made an effort to open up. He shared his experiences, his fears, his dreams. To his surprise, his parents responded in kind. Their bond deepened, becoming richer and more authentic.
True connection requires courage.
Miss Elena encouraged Alex to be vulnerable in his relationships. Alex took this to heart. He started being more honest about his feelings, even when it was uncomfortable. It wasn't always easy, but the results were transformative. His relationships became more meaningful, more supportive. As Alex invested in his relationships, he found his social circle expanding. He met people through his new hobbies and volunteer work. These friendships were based on shared interests and values. Alex marveled at how different his social life was now compared to a year ago. Instead of feeling drained by social interactions, he felt energized and fulfilled. Section 9. The Journey Within. Throughout his transformation, Alex embarked on a journey of self-discovery. He began journaling, pouring his thoughts and feelings onto paper. This practice helped him understand himself better. He uncovered patterns in his thinking, fears he'd been carrying, dreams he'd forgotten. It was like excavating his own mind, unearthing treasures long buried. Miss Elena introduced Alex to the concept of self-compassion. He'd always been his own harshest critic. Now, he learned to treat himself with the same kindness he'd show a friend. It wasn't easy. Old habits of self-judgment died hard. But slowly, Alex learned to be gentle with himself. He celebrated his progress and forgave his mistakes.
What truly matters to me? What kind of person do I want to be?
As he delved deeper into self-reflection, Alex began to clarify his values. These questions led him to make changes in his life. He aligned his actions with his values, even when it meant making difficult choices. It wasn't always comfortable, but it felt right. This inner journey was perhaps the most challenging and rewarding part of Alex's transformation. He faced fears he'd been running from. He confronted limiting beliefs that had held him back. It wasn't always easy, but with each step, Alex felt more authentic, more alive. He was becoming the person he was meant to be, not who he thought he should be. Section 10. A New Perspective on Life. As Alex looked back on his journey, he marveled at how far he'd come. The lost young man who once felt overwhelmed by the city was gone. In his place stood someone who embraced life with open arms. Alex now saw beauty where he once saw chaos. He found purpose where he once felt lost. Miss Elena's wisdom had been the catalyst. But Alex knew the real change had come from within. He'd made a choice to see life differently, to live with intention and gratitude. It wasn't always easy. There were still challenging days, but now Alex had the tools to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
You changed your life. I just reminded you that you could.
The city that once felt cold and indifferent now pulsed with life and possibility. Alex saw stories in every face he passed on the street. He felt connected to something larger than himself. His life had become rich with experiences, relationships, and moments of joy. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautifully, wonderfully real. As he sat with Miss Elena in their favorite cafe, Alex expressed his gratitude.
You changed my life.
Miss Elena smiled and shook her head. Alex nodded, understanding. His journey wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But now he looked to the future with hope and excitement. He was ready for whatever life had in store, knowing that true contentment comes not from reaching a destination, but from embracing the journey itself.